Hey, so good morning to everyone across the world. I don't know what time it's for you, but it is early morning for us here in Michigan, and it's a brisk one, especially compared to last week, which was real humid and muggy and just horrible, to actually wearing a little bit of a spring jacket here this morning. Anyways, hey, I wanted to get this message out. This is for Joe. Joe's been a long-time subscriber, and he had a question about the Apex controllers for these gate operators, and it sounds like he's getting them switched over. This one right here is actually an old Apex, just a standard Apex 1, I guess you want to call it. There is some slight differences with the Apexes. I'm not going to claim that I'm an expert with the Apexes, but I do have my little bit of expertise. So this one's an Apex 2. This one's a parts only. I save it for the buttons because these buttons fly off all the time. So I steal parts or these little pins that pop out. So, but anyways, a little difference with them. I actually prefer, I'm gonna grab it here. I actually prefer the Apex, the regular Apex. So if you have an older machine that came with the Apex, just the standard Apex, I would stay with it. That's just my opinion. The reason being is you don't have to put the little 10K resistors, which I don't have one with me, but the little 10K resistor goes on that, does this one got it? No, it doesn't. It goes on that pin right here for basically the obstructions inputs. So what they did is with the Apex 2 is the revisions is that you had to have that 10K resistor in there. And so you had to put a 10K resistor in here in line with, you know, your circuitry for basically what they're doing is just like a garage door opener. The garage door opener, you have to have the Photoeyes, right? You can't just jump out with a wire and make it work. The 10K is supposed to be putting that signal in there that basically there is a safety device on there, and if that safety device, let's say you cut the wire or it fails, it'll disable the Apex from working, and the gate won't move. So if you don't have those 10K resistors, the Apex 2 can be a little bit of a booger, because I've been out in the field before with these new Apex 2s. You know, for whatever reason, I ain't got the accessories hooked up. I need to get the gate just to run. I want to set limits so I can start working on other things, and I can't move the darn gate. I can't move the darn gate because I don't have, if you don't have that resistor or you don't have a safety device with the 10K resistor in it, you're done. It's basically like installing a garage door opener and not having the Photoeyes. You might be able to make it go up, right, but you can't make it go down. It just, unless you hold the button. And unfortunately, even with these, it's not as simple as just hold the button and override it. It just doesn't run. So I had it before where with a subcontractor, I couldn't get the gate to run, and we were just showing up down there, and I remember I ended up calling my wife, and I'm like, you need to get those 10K resistors and get them down here now, because we were having a meeting with the customer, and so it was just embarrassing because I couldn't get these gate operators to move, and I wanted to get limit set, I wanted to get parameter set, I wanted to get the open and close obstruction set in it, and I couldn't do it. So if it came with the Apex, I normally stick with it. Another thing to keep in mind, there is different versions. I feel like the 2.4 was a good version of the Apex 2. There's different versions of these, and that's why, like on this one Apex I got here, I actually have it written down. So when it was fired up at one time, it lights up right up here on the red screen. It says what version it is. It'll say 1.6, 1.7. They did different revisions on them. And I just know the biggest thing is you have to really, really listen to me. Listen to me. You have to pay attention if you have a master slave, if you have dual operators, double drive, you know, one gate operator on one side and another one on the other side. Two, even if it's two sliding gates that come together like that, or two swinging gates. Very, 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 very important. I have brand new ones right from my vendor, come right off the shelf. And one was like a 2.3 version and one was a 2.4 version. And I called them up and I'm like, hey, I thought we just had this conversation that this stuff, of course, you know how it is, you get an alarm on your phone here. So I ended up, I'm like, what do I do? And she goes, it's okay. They just came off the shelf. That's the way they gotta be. And I'm thinking, I thought we just had this conversation that they had to be the same. And I remember I went through like 3 different texts through Linear, and they kind of just acted like they, could you please hold, sir? And I'm like, sure. 15 minutes later, sir, yes, you should be okay with that. They'll program it, and yes, you're good. You're good. You'll be running. And I'm like, you sure? I'm like, because I really don't want to go through all this programming and then for this not to work. Well, anyways, I talked to the one guy over there at Linear, Mitch. I know Mitch doesn't watch my videos. I'm positive he doesn't. He's a really smart dude. And so if you need a technician over at Linear, Mitch is the guy. He is the guy that's like, I always give him crap. I'm like, what are you doing? Sitting on the beach? He's like, no. And I'm like, it always sounds windy in the background. I'm like, what are you doing? You in your backyard drinking margaritas or what? And he's just like, no. And I'm like, what are you doing? And so anyways, I always give him crap because it's just like he's the man, and he just goes, did you try this? Did you do this? And he doesn't go through all that, well, did you turn the power on? Yeah, I turned the power on. Did you push the stop? Yeah, I already pushed the stop. He just gets right to the point, and he knows what he's doing. So I got a pretty good relationship with him. I don't think he really knows me, but he knows my voice. A lot of times when I start talking to him, he'll do the kind of, hey, what's up, man? And I go, yeah, I'm stuck. So Apex, go with regular Apex if you can. If you can't, if you want to just upgrade because there's some reason, safety in that, just remember the Apex 2, got to have the 10K resistor, or got to have the safety devices that have it built in. It's more monitored. The other thing is the vision. Whatever it comes up, make sure if you got if you got 2 gate operators together, make sure they're the same version. Don't even screw around. If it's the ones at 2.3, the thing is, I've made them work. I've had them work. They work just fine. I'll stand there and make them work 10, 20 times. I'm like, I don't know what they're talking about. It works, right? It'll freak out in a week or so. It'll start glitching out, and you'll be struggling. Trust me. You'll be going, what the heck? Why is this doing this? It'll freak out. It'll do weird things. It'll have weird glitches to it. It drove me insane. I got the same versions up there now. I just revisited that gate, and for whatever reason, they didn't run it through the winter. And for some reason a board did short out on it, but luckily I had the old Apex with the 1.7 version, and I made it work. But I made darn sure this first thing I did was that they were the same versions, because it's kind of like a computer. It's not like you should have Windows and then Windows XP. They're just not kind of, I mean, they make it work, right? But these just don't work that way. It's like trying to take a Genie remote to a linear, or not linear, but to a LiftMaster opener. It just doesn't work. And so that's my biggest take on these Apexes. Besides the Apex 1, the Apex 2 is, like I said, and these numbers right here don't mean nothing. I thought these were probably the most important. I remember taking pictures and all that kind of stuff, but when you fire it up, you got to look at what version it is, and they do have different versions. Some are better and some are old. These things are very scattered, as far as I'm concerned. Very scattered, and it's a pain to get them to get you the right version, because originally this one gate operator I started with, we asked for it to be revised to a 1.4, I think it was. It never came as a 1.4. It came as like a 1.7, and so then I ended up having to do the other gate. It was just a mess. So be very careful with changing the boards in them. Just make sure the versions are the same, and you need those 10K resistors, which I'll show you here in just a second, just so you know. Okay, so I'm back. So like these are the Omron Photoeyes that we use sometimes. I've been kind of getting away from these, cause up here in Michigan we get this weird fog lately, and they have a reflector on the other side, and they just haven't been working that good. So we've been using different brands. But here is somewhere. So they give you a little package. So this is a new 10K resistor for UL 325 compliant. If you look right here, there's that little booger. This little booger right here, focus, right there. That little resistor will shut the whole operation down. No resistor, no go-go. You don't go nowhere. So you got to have these. And the problem is you have to have two of them. You have to have one for open obstruction. You have to have one for closed obstruction. So you got to keep that in mind. So like right now, since you got one safety here, and you go, oh, I got the resistor, I'm good. No, you got to have two, and you got to wire them in however they tell you how to wire it in. So, yeah. So I hope that kind of helps you. They, I kind of went around with my tech one time on this. You're supposed to kind of wire it into a, I don't know how you really say it, but like a series, because it's basically that photo eye. So I had a sub and he just bypassed it in there and then, you know, ran it off something. And that photo eye actually turned off. It lost power. It was a wire that came off. That's what it was. And it didn't shut the unit down. So I remember I stood on the outside like a dummy. I'm sitting there waving my hand trying to get to stop. Well, this place just started closing. So my only way through was this gate. Otherwise I had to walk way down the fence line to the other gate and try to slip underneath the other gate. And so I remember when the gate was closing, I'm sitting there waving my hand in front of the photo eye, you know, and it went reverse. And I was like, what the heck, what's going on? Well, that gate operator shouldn't have even been running if it was wired in correctly. So if it was wired in correctly, that thing would have shut down and not even ran. So the idea is, think of it as a set of Photoeyes is the way I do it. And if the Photoeyes are compromised, they're not working, the door doesn't shut, right? You know, we have to fix that. So it's just a way for them to get where people just don't bypass it with a, you know, a wire or whatnot. So anyways, Joe, thanks for being a long-time subscriber. I hope that's helpful. If you have any other questions, you know how to get a hold of me. You can always email me. You can always comment below. And otherwise, brother, good luck. The Apex 2s are a little more complicated. They're doable. You know, they all work. But like I said, master-slave dual operators, watch that. And the revisions on them. That's what you gotta watch. So good luck. Tech support's always pretty helpful too over there. Like I said, Mitch is a good guy if you get to real last resort. I found some ways to get to him. I just got my contacts, I guess. So anyways, take care, you guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.